Let's start with a number, $788 billion. Now that's not the budget of a small country. It's the projected net worth of one single person in January 2026. It's a figure that's so huge it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around, right? And that man, well, it's Elon Musk.
And his influence is just as massive as his wealth. We're talking about the guy at the helm of companies that are trying to completely revolutionize space travel, totally reshape the car industry, literally merge the human brain with computers, and oh yeah, control the global digital town square.
But all of this just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Beyond all the money, beyond the nonstop headlines, who is the real Elon Musk? And how on earth did one person get so much power across so many critical parts of our world?
Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We're going to trace the building blocks of his empire all the way from his earliest days to his current status as, well, one of the most powerful and polarizing figures on the entire planet.
So, let's start at the very beginning. The foundation of this story wasn't built in Silicon Valley, like you might think. Nope, it started thousands of miles away. He was born in Pretoria, South Africa, and showed a knack for technology really early on. But it was more than just a knack. It was this relentless drive. He wasn't just learning to code. He was creating and selling. Get this, at just 12 years old, he built and sold his first video game, called Blaster, for about $500. The entrepreneurial spark was definitely there from the start. After moving to North America, he just dove headfirst into the dot-com boom. And this timeline, wow, it just shows how incredibly fast he moved. In 1995, he co-founds a company called Zip2. Just 4 years later, it sold for over $300 million. He immediately turns around and reinvests in X.com, which then merges to become the company that would really make him a household name, PayPal.
So when eBay bought PayPal in 2002 for a staggering $1.5 billion, Musk, being the largest shareholder, cashed out. His personal take, over $175 million. And this wasn't just payday. This was the seed capital for an entire empire.
With his first fortune secured, Musk didn't just retire to some island, not even close. Instead, he made two of the absolute riskiest bets in modern industrial history, creating the twin pillars that would come to define his public image.
He took $100 million of his own money and did something that was almost unthinkable back in 2002. He started a private rocket company. People honestly thought he was crazy. That company? SpaceX.
And SpaceX didn't just compete. It completely rewrote the rules of the game. It became the first private company to ever dock with the International Space Station. It pioneered reusable rockets that just slashed the cost of space travel. And in 2020, it launched its own astronauts into orbit.
At the exact same time, he made another bet. It was a much smaller initial investment, just over $6 million in 2004, but it was enough to make him the majority shareholder and chairman of a tiny little electric car startup called Tesla.
And what a bet that was. Tesla went from a niche startup to the undisputed leader of the entire EV revolution. It launched a whole fleet of game-changing models, became the world's most valuable car maker, and then, in 2021, it soared to a $1 trillion market cap.
But just building things wasn't enough. His next major move signaled a pretty big shift in focus, away from the physical world of cars and rockets and into the digital world of information and influence.
The next chapter of this empire really began with just 4 simple words. In April 2022, Musk set his sights on buying Twitter, the platform that he had already pretty much mastered as his own personal megaphone.
And he absolutely put his money where his mouth was. The final price tag was a massive $44 billion. It was one of the largest tech acquisitions in history.
After the takeover, the changes were immediate, and they were sweeping. The company was rebranded to just X, content moderation policies were relaxed a lot, the whole verification system was switched to a subscription model, and he fired the existing leadership, making himself CEO before eventually moving to CTO. So as his financial and industrial power just kept growing, so did his political involvement. And that's what really transformed him from just a tech CEO into a major political player.
You can trace a really clear political evolution here. For years, he played both sides, donating to Democrats and Republicans. But by 2022, you could see a shift. He started publicly backing Republican candidates, and that move eventually culminated in a full-throated endorsement of Donald Trump in 2024, and then a role in his administration. And then came this moment, a moment that would really define his political persona. At Trump's second inauguration, a particular gesture and a statement he made to the crowd, well, it sparked a global firestorm of condemnation and intense scrutiny.
He took on a role as the de facto head of this new Department of Government Efficiency, but his time there was really short-lived. It was marked by a ton of public backlash, and it ended after a very, very public feud with the president himself.
You put all of this together, the wealth, the companies, the politics, and what you get is one of the most complex and, without a doubt, polarizing public figures of the 21st century.
His actions have drawn a firestorm of criticism. He's faced accusations of promoting COVID-19 misinformation, of affirming anti-Semitic comments, and of spreading dangerous conspiracy theories. And since his takeover of X, numerous reports have documented a pretty significant surge in hate speech on the platform.
This immense concentration of power over industry, media, and politics has led many people to start calling him an American oligarch. Is he a visionary savior or a reckless disruptor? I mean, the debate just rages on. But what's absolutely undeniable is his profound and lasting impact on our world.
And so, as his story continues to unfold, we're all left with a pretty fundamental question. It's a question for all of us to think about. What is the true cost of placing this much influence in the hands of a single individual?